Good morning. All right. Today we are going to work on octaves. And so, why don't we start off with the O sound? Well, first let's do some humming and get our voice warmed up a bit. That's a new exercise. It's kind of like sliding up and back down. And where you hear the break, that's where you want to smooth it out as much as possible. Pushed myself a little bit right there, got a little bit of a strain, so be careful with this exercise as you can easily strain your voice. So basically, let's move on to octaves, starting out with the O sound. We're starting off lower in the lower octaves. So whatever your voice register is, where you feel comfortable. Okay, so right now I'm kind of doing a more of a disconnected jump, not so fluid, but more disjointed, while I work myself into getting my vocal cords warmed up. Oh, oh. Let's go down a little lower. Oh, 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 oh. Again, these are the octaves. For those of you who don't know what octaves are, it's basically the 8th note up from where you were before. But you can hear it because it's basically the same note, but it's just higher than the lower note. It vibrates at a frequency that is 2 times as much as the original note. So let's proceed. Oh, oh. You know, working on our intensity. So I'm very out of practice with this. So what I'm noticing right away is trying to keep the intensity confined in the higher notes because of the amount of energy it's taking. So just continuing to relax the throat, roll the shoulders, do some neck rolls to loosen up the neck. Continue to breathe. Oh, oh. And again, we're working on the quality of the sound from the low to the high. We want as less bumpy as a transition as we can get. And we want to continue to work on the smoothness. And also, some of us are more prone to what's called a vibrato voice. And I tend to fall into that category. But what we can do at times is start to focus on tapering back on the vibrato. So we're just getting more of a pure sound and not so much of the vibrating up and down on the note. So we'll try to do that a little more. Oh, oh. Okay. So the difference in the vibrato would be like a vibrato is where there's a lot of fluctuation going on. So Oh, you can hear the vibrating going on, as opposed to oh, which also tends to be more of a throaty voice. And when you sing from your diaphragm, many times you do fall into the vibrato more. When you sing from the throat and the chest, you can control the vibrato a little bit better. Again, we're just trying to be aware of the vibrato as we go along, because it's not that vibrato is a bad thing, but too much of a good thing can be a bad thing at times. So we have to always be aware of that, and depending on the message of our music and what we are trying to convey in our singing, sometimes vibrato serves that purpose quite well. So, moving on to the octaves again. Oh, oh. So when we're attacking that note in the higher registers, we want to make the shape of the vowel sound in the back of our throat before we sing it. And so that when we breathe, when we are breathing in, we are making the shape of the vowel as we breathe in. So, making the shape of the O as we breathe in, not just with our lips, but also thinking of the O shape in our throat and in our mouth, in the placement of our tongue or our jaw or the back of the uvula or whatever. So that we are preparing ourselves to sing the vowel before we sing it. So for the lower and for the higher registers. Oh, oh. Again, I'm still struggling with this, but this is what it's all about. It's all about working through the uneasiness of those higher registers and blending it all together. Let's start off with the higher notes and go to the lower notes. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, oh. Okay, we've been singing that in a very separated manner for quite a bit. Now let's blend them together. Let's kind of go from the low to the high, but kind of try to keep it connected, so to speak. But not too connected so that it's a drastic slide up. But just connected enough to keep the flow going. Okay? So oh, 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 I'm getting a little bit of uneasiness in the higher register there, so I really feel the need to move on to the next vowel sound, which is the ah. And so let's do the ah sound. Ah. Ah. Now let's do the A sound. Hey, hey. Another thing, when you're doing the vowel sounds and you're jumping from the octave to the next octave, you don't want to close the vowel sound until you're done singing. Okay, so the vowel sound A has that E on the end of it. You don't want to go E until the very end of your singing. So you're singing okay, until the very end. Okay, so let's try that again. And again, depending on your message and what you're trying to convey, you can do whatever you want with the vowel sounds. You can change the rules up and sing everything from an emotional perspective. I'm just giving you a set of rules to establish a baseline in warming up the voice and in singing in a proper classical method. Okay? Now, what I will try to do as we go along is incorporate more modern technique in regard to chest voice and more of an earthy sound as opposed to the classical sound. But as I'm not as good in that area, I'm going to be focusing more on the classical singing techniques. So, there you have it. You can go through the different vowel sounds with practicing the octaves and continuing to relax the voice. Don't push yourself. Don't strain your voice. If you feel that happening, take a break. Drink some water. You know, if you feel like you're starting to lose your voice because you've been singing so much, then you might have to take a break. But if you're singing correctly, you're probably not going to lose your voice that quickly, because many of these singers on Broadway, you know, they sing night after night, you know, and they've developed those muscles in their throat for those songs, and so it becomes second nature to them. So with that, God bless everybody. Have a wonderful day. Keep seeking truth.